Right then, ladies and gents, let's talk box office totals. Obviously, the headliner is that Mortal Kombat has done really, really well. But it's not just that. There's also some talk of Demon Slayer and Godzilla versus Kong. So we're going to cover this today. I do always find these things to be particularly interesting, especially now in this sort of post-pandemic world where people are thinking that streaming is the future. I think the strong box office totals say otherwise, or at the very least, says that there is absolutely still a market for theatres alongside streaming, whichever way you want to look at it. So we're going to dive into this today, just to let you know straight off the bat, ladies and gents, my Blu-ray, there is literally 10 left now. So grab it whilst you can. I would imagine it will be sold out in the next couple of days. So there's a link to that down below in the description box. Grab it whilst you can. If you were thinking about it, don't sleep. Because it will be gone. Also, side note, ladies and gents, link down below in the description box is also a link to my second channel where I am rebuilding a Nissan Pulsar GTIR. Yes, that's right, I'm a bit of a petrol head, and if you know anything about cars, you will know, well, you will know instantly what that car is, and you'll probably be intrigued to see one being rebuilt. So check that link out and subscribe if you want. But that being said, let's dive into this. I've got a few articles to cover today to sort of round out this whole video with the box office, but this one's from Variety. Pretty interesting, and it does also touch on the post-pandemic world and things like that, which I think it's worth noting in all of this stuff, because so many people have been putting an emphasis on streaming. I feel like where some studios took the risk and just released movies, those studios have reaped the benefits. And Godzilla vs. Kong alone has totaled well over 400 million at the global box office. That's crazy. That's really, really good. So I feel like it's a, he who dares wins situation with this box office total. So let's dive into it, shall we? So for the first time since the pandemic struck, more than one movie opened to notable ticket sales at the domestic box office. The results fueled the biggest overall weekend of the COVID-19 era, according to ComScore, with an estimated 54.2 million in revenue across all reopened North American theatres. So Hollywood is pointing to the performances of Mortal Kombat and Demon Slayer, the top earners of the weekend, as the clearest indication yet that audiences are ready to return to the movies after nearly a year of staying home to stream. And that's the thing, right? When we look at this, when we look at these figures, Mortal Kombat, okay, I enjoyed it, but it's not a good movie, right? It's a bad movie that I really enjoyed. It's a martial arts inspired adaptation of the popular video game, took in a robust 22.5 million, only from 3,000 theatres. That's unreal. That's so good. And it's these figures here. Right, only 3,000 theatres and 22.5 million. Those figures there scream that people want to head back to theatres now. It really does. Now, those receipts rank as the second biggest debut of the pandemic following Godzilla vs. Kong, which premiered to 31 million domestically in March. $31 million. And it was, if I remember rightly, to around the same, if not under, 3,000 theatres. Now, I don't know exactly. I'm fairly certain it was either 3,000 or just under. Not that many. Not that big of a difference. When you're earning 22.5 million and 31 million respectively, with 3,000 theatres, that's so good. It really is. It's so decent. Now, Warner Brothers released both of those titles and made them available to stream simultaneously on HBO Max for a month, a strategy the studio is deploying for its entire 2021 slate. And also probably a strategy that they actually regret. I'm sure Warner Brothers does actually regret that, and I'm sure the studios that are partnered with Warner Brothers at the moment, because remember, Mortal Kombat's not actually a Warner Brothers film. I believe it's created by New Line, and then Warner Brothers are the distributor, or at least co-financiers, and thus distributor as well. Similarly to how Legendary made Godzilla vs. Kong, but Warner Brothers distributed it and had a 25% stake. I'm sure it's a very, very similar deal there. Now, despite mixed reviews, the R-rated Mortal Kombat narrowly cinched first place on domestic charts after a surprisingly close race against Demon Slayer. In a not-so-distant second, Demon Slayer earned 15.9 million. From how many? Oh, only just under 1,600 locations. That's mental. That's so good. That is just, it's staggering. I sound like I'm speechless, or I don't have like an awful lot to say, but I am actually speechless. Like, I genuinely am. To earn 16 million effectively for just under 1,600 locations is staggeringly good. Now, it's estimated to notch 19.5 million over the weekend, and the anime action adventure from Funimation and Aniplex has been a massive commercial hit in international markets such as Japan, where it currently ranks as the highest grossing movie ever, with 365 million. In total, Demon Slayer has eclipsed the 400 million mark globally. So good. So good. Now, they start touching on some other bits and pieces here, and you know, they talk about Mortal Kombat overseas. It launched with 21 million. It collected an additional 6.3 million from 37 foreign territories this weekend, boosting its international tally to 27.6 million. The film, produced by New Line Cinemas for a modest $55 million budget, has generated 50 million globally to date, which is great. That's very good. Now, Godzilla vs. Kong has been out for a a pretty long time now, and landed 4.2 million. Not bad. Not bad. Like, it still has legs, so it's still doing okay. You've got to remember, all these movies are on streaming at the same time as well. I don't think Demon Slayer is, but the other ones are. And for it to still have legs is great. It's really decent. Now, this article from Collider goes into a little bit more detail. So Mortal Kombat is looking to have a flawless victory, because these are all somewhat old, so they don't get the final numbers in. But you have to wait way too long on a Monday to get the final figures in. So we can say with certainty, at the very least, the sort of figures that they're talking about looking to be good projections anyway. Now, obviously, I had a flawless victory, 22.5 million for the weekend, dealing a fatality on its domestic competition, Demon Slayer. So it did really well. Again, we already know this. We know all of this. That's absolutely fine. And another good article here, which just kind of rounds it out quite nicely. So Mortal Kombat may not have won over the majority of critics, but Warner Brothers' R-rated video game reboot is currently performing very well, 22.5 million domestically. So domestically, 22.5 million. That gives the violent R-rated reboot the second biggest of the pandemic. Now, Godzilla vs. Kong has actually now passed 400 million globally, which is really decent. Really decent. Very good. And actually has still been pulling in pretty good numbers. Like, these are the latest totals from everywhere it's been released. Really strong in China. It still hasn't been... None of these things have been released in the UK yet. They're still opening in May. Like, all of these things are opening in May now. Like, we barely have anything over here. And I'm really surprised it hasn't even opened in Japan. But some things have. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. But Mortal Kombat took in 6.3 million from 37 overseas territories. Global, 50 million. Now, it's in terms of... They say here, oh, it bodes well for a sequel. I don't think it does just yet. They wouldn't have made their money back yet. They'd have to earn well over $100 million to start going into, well, anywhere near profit, basically. Yes, it was made for 55 million. You still have a marketing budget on top of that. And there was some good marketing for this. They would have paid some good money for the marketing that they had. So there you go. I mean, there's sort of a box office roundup anyway. Mortal Kombat's done really well. But I guess like another big part of this is also just the fact that, well, not only that, ladies and gents, is that Godzilla vs. Kong has absolutely smashed 400 million globally. It's so good. And all of this is on, well, barely any territories, barely any theatres. You got to remember, there's an awful lot more theatre chains theatres in the US than just 3,000 or 3,096 or whatever it was. So yeah, this bodes really well for the future of theatres. But I also think it bodes really well for the future of theatres alongside streaming. It doesn't seem that streaming has affected the theatre profits at all. Okay, it's almost not applicable at this point in time. So what do you guys think? Please do let me know down below in the comment section. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Please do give the video a like and a share. We'd really appreciate that. But thank you so much. Take care.